You've tried everything, new products, new routines, and somehow you still catch your reflection and feel like something's off. If you've ever looked in the mirror after 80 and felt like your hair was aging you faster than your birthdays ever could, this is for you. Imagine 5 haircuts making you look years lighter, years softer, years more like yourself again. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work instantly. Today we're perfecting the 5 haircuts that make women over 80 look genuinely younger. And by part 3 you'll want to pause and look in the mirror. I mean it. We're covering a soft layered bob, a rounded pixie, a face framing shag, a soft chin length cut, and a wispy layered crop. 5 very different looks, 5 very different transformations. And the very first one, it is the cut hairstylists quietly recommend to almost every woman over 80 who walks through their door. Let's go. 1. The soft layered bob. Have you ever wondered why so many women over 80 default to the same flat, close crop style out of habit rather than choice? Here's the truth nobody says out loud. As hair thins and grays, most women shrink their haircut smaller and smaller, thinking less hair means less fuss. It actually does the opposite. A cut that sits too close to the scalp exposes thinning patches and flattens your whole face. Honestly, that one habit is the single biggest thing quietly adding years to how people read your age from across a room. The soft layer bob flips that instinct on its head. Instead of cropping everything short, it keeps length around the jaw and layers it gently so the ends have movement and lift. This one is everything. The layers create the illusion of thickness, even when the hair itself is fine, and the length softens the lines of the face instead of exposing them. Let's talk about why this cut works so specifically for your face at this stage of life. Skin naturally loses some firmness along the jaw over the decades, and a blunt short cut draws the eye straight to that area. The soft layered bob does the opposite. It creates a soft diagonal line that pulls attention up toward your cheekbones and your eyes instead. There is one technique that changes how your entire face reads in person, and it takes your stylist about 10 extra minutes with a razor comb to get right. Here are the 5 things to ask for. First, ask for the length to hit right at or just below your jawline, never above it. Anything shorter loses the softening effect entirely. Second, request long, feathered layers rather than short, choppy ones. Feathered layers move with you, choppy layers just sit there. Third, ask your stylist to point cut the ends instead of blunt cutting them, which keeps the silhouette soft rather than harsh. Fourth, request a side part instead of a center part, since a side part naturally lifts the crown and adds the appearance of volume where thinning shows the most. Fifth, ask for face framing pieces left slightly longer at the front, which draw the eye toward your best features first. If you are still asking for the shortest cut in the book because it feels easier, swap it for this one. The difference in how youthful it reads is immediate. If you are still getting a blunt straight across cut, swap it for point cut layered ends instead. This is the one that made a friend of mine stop mid-conversation and ask what changed. She had worn the same short crop for 15 years, and after one appointment with these exact instructions, people started asking if she'd done something different with her skin. Maintenance is simple. A light volumizing mousse at the roots before blow drying keeps the lift going all day without any extra tools. Your natural elegance deserves a cut that actually works with your bone structure, not against it. But this next cut solves a completely different problem, and it might be the boldest, most face-lifting option on this entire list. 2. The rounded pixie. This one is doing more damage than you realize if you're avoiding it out of fear. Most women over 80 assume a pixie cut will look severe or masculine, so they steer clear of it entirely. That fear is costing you one of the most face-lifting haircuts available at any age. A rounded soft pixie is nothing like the harsh, angular pixies from decades ago. The key word here is rounded. Where an old-style pixie was cut close and blunt with sharp edges, the modern rounded pixie is cut with soft, curved layers that hug the head gently and leave gentle wisps around the ears and nape. Yes, that's simple. The rounding is what makes all the difference between severe and stunning. Here's why this cut is so specifically flattering for you right now. As the face naturally softens with age, sharp angular haircuts fight against that softness and create a strange contrast. A rounded pixie mirrors the natural roundness of an aging face instead of contradicting it, which reads as elegant rather than aging. There is a specific reason colorists and stylists both push this cut for women in their 80s and beyond, and it comes down to how light bounces off short layered hair versus long flat hair. Short layers catch and scatter light, which visually smooths skin texture from a distance. 5 things to request. First, ask for graduated layers at the crown for soft height rather than a flat top, since flatness reads as tired. Second, request the sides and back tapered close but not shaved, keeping a soft transition rather than a hard line. Third, ask for the front pieces left slightly longer to allow gentle styling versatility, whether swept to the side or lightly tousled. Fourth, request rounded, not squared, edges around the ears. Squared edges are what create that harsh, dated look women fear. Fifth, ask your stylist to texturize the crown with thinning shears for extra lift without extra bulk, especially helpful if your hair has thinned significantly. If you are still avoiding short hair because you think it will look severe, swap that assumption for a rounded, soft version. The difference between severe and stunning is entirely in the shaping, not the length. If you're currently wearing longer hair that's gone thin and stringy at the ends, swap it for this rounded pixie instead. Thin, stringy length ages you far more than confident short hair ever will. Your bone structure was always this striking. This cut is simply the first haircut in years that actually lets people see it. Maintenance here could not be easier. A dab of light pomade worked through damp hair before air drying keeps the shape crisp with 0 blow drying required, which matters more than you'd think when you're trying to simplify your routine. But if bold short hair still isn't quite your comfort zone, the next cut on this list gives you nearly the same face-lifting benefits while keeping meaningful length. 3. The face framing shag. You spent years growing your hair out, and somehow it still looks thin, flat, and tired no matter what you do to it. That's not a length problem. That's a layering problem. And it's one of the most common mistakes women over 80 make without ever realizing it. Long or medium hair with no layering just hangs. It has nowhere to go and nothing to catch the light, so it reads as thin even when there's actually a decent amount of hair there. The face framing shag solves this completely by building movement into the hair itself, rather than relying on length alone. You needed to hear this. The shag isn't just a trendy word borrowed from younger stylists. It's specifically effective for aging hair because the choppy, piecewise layers create dimension that thick, healthy hair gets naturally and thinning hair loses. Honestly, I wish more women over 80 knew this cut existed, because it solves the exact texture problem that store-bought volumizing products only pretend to fix. Here's what makes it work on your face specifically. The layers around the front are cut shorter and blend into longer layers toward the back, which draws the eye toward your cheekbones and eyes rather than letting it drift down toward the neck. There's one particular detail that separates a shag that looks effortlessly chic from one that looks accidentally messy. And that detail is where your stylist places the shortest layer, right at cheekbone height, not jaw height. 5 specific requests to bring to your next appointment. First, ask for layers starting at cheekbone level and cascading downward, never starting at the chin or below. Second, request a razor cut technique rather than scissor cut for the ends, since razor cuts create the soft, feathered texture this cut depends on. Third, ask for face framing pieces left just slightly shorter than the rest to draw attention upward toward your eyes. Fourth, request your stylist thin out the mid-length specifically, where hair tends to look heaviest and flattest as it grows past the shoulders. Fifth, ask for a soft curtain fringe if your forehead has become a feature you'd rather soften. It's optional, but it completes the frame beautifully on most face shapes. If you're still wearing your hair one solid length with no layers at all, swap it for this shag structure. The transformation in how much lighter and livelier it looks is almost immediate. If you've been relying on volumizing spray to fake texture that isn't actually there, swap the product dependency for a cut that creates real texture instead. This is the cut that made my own mother, at 83, ask her stylist to redo her color lighter, because for the first time in years she actually wanted people looking at her hair. Maintenance is refreshingly low. A texturizing spray scrunched in while the hair air dries enhances the natural piece-wide quality without requiring a single hot tool. Up next is a cut for anyone who wants a bit more polish and structure than a shag offers, and it might be the most universally flattering option on this entire list. 4. The soft chin length cut. This one is doing more good for your face shape than almost any other cut on this list. And yet it's the one most women skip because they assume chin length is too safe or too plain. That assumption is exactly backwards. There's a reason stylists call the chin length cut the quiet workhorse of flattering haircuts for women over 80. It does more shaping work than almost any other length, without ever looking fussy or overdone. Here's the specific problem it solves. As the neck and jawline soften with age, hair that falls past the chin tends to pull the eye downward and can visually lengthen an already softened jawline. Haircut precisely at or just above the chin does the opposite. It interrupts that downward pull and creates a natural, flattering horizontal line right where you want the eye to land. This is the one that surprises people most. Women often assume shorter automatically means more aging, when in reality it's the exact opposite past a certain point. Length past the chin does more aging work than the gray hair itself ever could. There's a specific reason this length flatters almost every face shape, whether round, oval, square, or heart-shaped. And it comes down to precision, not the length number itself. Precision is everything here, so let's get specific about what to request. First, ask for the length to land precisely at the chin or just slightly above it. Even half an inch too long changes the entire effect. Second, request a slight inward curve at the ends rather than a straight blunt line, since the inward curve softly wraps toward the jaw instead of hanging straight down past it. Third, ask for subtle layering through the crown only, keeping the perimeter clean and precise while adding lift where you need it most. Fourth, request your part be adjusted slightly off-center if your face has any natural asymmetry, which most faces do. Fifth, ask your stylist about a soft side swept fringe if your forehead lines have become something you'd rather ease rather than showcase. If you're currently wearing your hair past your chin because you associate length with youth, swap that instinct for this precise chin length cut instead. The lift it creates around your jaw reads younger than 3 extra inches of length ever will. If your current chin length cut has a straight blunt edge that feels harsh, swap it for the soft inward curve described above. Those beautiful eyes deserve a haircut that actually points people toward them instead of away. Maintenance is beautifully simple with this cut. A round brush in just 5 minutes with a blow dryer creates the inward curve daily. And on lazy days it air dries into a soft, natural wave that still looks intentional. There's one more cut left, and it might be the boldest, most transformative option of all 5, the one people notice from across the room. 5. The wispy layered crop. Nobody tells women over 80 the truth about short hair. Until now. Most women think short hair means less styling freedom, less softness, less femininity. The wispy layered crop proves every one of those assumptions wrong, and it might be the single most transformative cut on this entire list. Here's what makes the crop different from every other shortcut we've discussed. Where the pixie is rounded and close, the crop is airier with soft, wispy pieces left longer at the crown and around the face, creating a delicate, almost feathered effect rather than a controlled, structured shape. This is the one that surprised me most in all my research on this topic. Stylists who specialize in mature clients consistently name the wispy crop as the cut that gets the most unsolicited compliments, more than any longer, more done style. The reason comes down to softness. Structured, sleek shortcuts can occasionally look severe on softened, aging features, but wisps do the opposite. They mimic natural movement, which reads as effortless rather than engineered, and effortless always reads younger than overly polished. There's a texture technique specific to this cut that most stylists don't explain clearly. It involves point-cutting individual wisps at slightly different lengths so no two pieces fall exactly the same way. And that irregularity is precisely what creates the soft, natural movement instead of a stiff, helmet-like shortcut. Here are the 5 specifics to request. First, ask for the crown left slightly longer than the rest, with wispy, irregular ends rather than one uniform length. Second, request point cutting throughout, not scissor blunt cutting, since point cutting is what produces the soft, feathery quality that defines this style. Third, ask for the pieces around your face left long enough to be tucked behind the ear or worn loose, giving you styling flexibility day to day. Fourth, request the nape kept short and neat while the top stays soft and textured, creating contrast between structure and softness. Fifth, ask your stylist to avoid heavy thinning shears throughout, since the wispy effect depends on natural irregular lengths, not mechanically thinned strands. If you're currently wearing a uniform one-length short cut that feels stiff or dated, swap it for this wispy, irregular version. The difference in softness is immediate and visible from across a room. If you've been avoiding short hair entirely out of fear it will look severe, swap that fear for this crop specifically, since wispiness is the antidote to severity. This is the one that made a woman in my own community post a photo captioned, "I finally feel like myself again," after wearing the exact same short style for over a decade. Maintenance could not be simpler. A small amount of texturizing paste worked through dry hair with your fingertips, focusing on the ends, brings the wispy movement to life in under 2 minutes. You've now seen all 5 cuts, and one of them is almost certainly waiting for you at your very next appointment. You just learned 5 haircuts that most women spend years, sometimes decades, figuring out alone through trial and error. Boom! Your bone structure was always this stunning. Now it finally shows. Tell me, which of these 5 cuts are you already picturing on yourself, and which one have you been too nervous to ask for? Next time we're tackling the one hair color mistake that quietly adds 10 years the moment you walk out of the salon. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.